everybody, it's your girl Khadijah from KhadijahCoaches.com, and of course Warrior Woman TV, and I am back. I've been away for so long. I was moving into a new place, and so I was getting settled in. It took me a minute to really recenter myself, but I'm back on YouTube, and I'm back focused, all this good stuff. And today's video is about masterminds. Do you have a mastermind? And I want to mention where I got this idea from and how I call in my masterminds when I am faced with an issue, or something that I need to do, or I need inspiration. And we kind of have a council, so to speak. We may not call it a mastermind group, or we may not put that to it, but I'm pretty sure once I start talking about my mastermind group, you will get a broader idea of what I'm talking about, and you can recognize your own masterminds based on what I'm going to talk about. And where I got this from is a book called Think and Grow Rich. And I know a lot of you probably are familiar with this book. If you are not familiar with this book belongs in your library. You guys know that I am a reader. As you can see, this is one of my bookshelves. I have many bookshelves in my home filled with a whole bunch of books. I just really believe in knowledge and learning, and you can never know too much. The minute you think you know everything, that's when you're in trouble. But anyway, so in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, I want you guys to see the book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Get this book, especially if you're a business owner. I don't care what business it is. I don't care if you crochet and put your stuff on Etsy. Whatever you do, you need to be reading this book. It's chock full of wisdom. But anyway, in this book, Napoleon Hill talks about letting great men shape your life. So I say let great men and women shape your life. And in the book, he talks about invisible counselors, right? So invisible counselors may be people who have passed on from this physical life that we know and gone on back into the essence, or into the spiritual world, or to heaven. Whatever you believe, take your pick of those choice of words and stay with me here. So he had a whole list of invisible counselors that he consulted with, and they were, I'm reading it from the book, so if you see me looking down, that's why. Emerson, Paine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Burbank, Napoleon, Ford, and Carnegie. And he says that every night over a period of years, he held an imaginary council meeting with this group whom he called his invisible counselors. And he did this procedure every night just before going to sleep. He would shut his eyes and he would see the group of men seated with him around his council table. And he says he would indulge his imagination. So he would imagine talking to this invisible council. And that's my Facebook going off. I'm about to delete that thing and come back to you guys so that we don't hear that bloop bloop in the background. So he would imagine talking to them every night before he went to bed, and imagining, what advice I guess they would give him. And so I said, oh, you know what? I really want to do that. I really want to glean from people that in history that I've admired. What would they do in my situation? What would they do business-wise? What would they do family-wise? What would they do in different aspects in different areas of my life. So I have here what I'm going to show you is my mastermind group. And I put them on, found all of the images on Google, just went on Google and of course printed them out and plastered them up here on a paper, and I keep the paper in my bedroom at night and talk to them and get their counsel. And incidentally, the majority of the people here, with probably the exception of this young lady or this woman, Biddy Mason, I do have writings. I have writings from each of these people, right? Or biographies or something from them. So I get a sense of who they were based on their writings, their ideals, the things that they did in life, the things that they accomplished, their mindset, how they thought about the world and those people around them. So I have a sense of who they are. So when I go into meditation, if you will, and imagining that they're at a table, consulting them, I have a sense of who they are because I do have books on them. I've done extensive research on who they are. So who are these people? Some of you may recognize some of them, and then others are not so known. Of course, this is my girl. This is Madam C.J. Walker, and she became a millionaire in the I believe it was the late 1800s, the early 1900s. So can you imagine what kind of mindset she had to have to be able to galvanize women around hair care products coming just out of slavery, right? What kind of mindset does she have to have in order to accomplish such lofty goals? And we have similar histories in that, she became a widow at a very early age. And so I just really, really relate to her on a bunch of levels. And actually, I am friends with her great granddaughter on Facebook. I found her some kind of way and I follow her, and she is a prolific writer and commentator on politics and history, and she is just a joy to be acquainted with and an honor. So we'll have Madam C.J. Walker, and then I have over here, this is A.G. Gaston, and he's another gentleman who became a millionaire in the early 1900s. I believe he's from Alabama. You can find a book written by, I think it's written by his niece on Amazon or Audible. I got the book from Audible and I listened to it, and it really just accounts like how he was able to be this phenomenal business owner in Alabama at a time where, it was a very hard society to be in as a black man. Not only just a black man, but like a black man who had money. And it's a very good account. The book that this relative wrote is a very good account of who he was personally and who his wife was, and just how they lived and how he was able to build this empire through insurance. I think he had an insurance company, funeral home, and one other business that he really just built from the ground up. So he's another one of my part of my invisible counsel. And then over here is Noble Drew Ali. Some people may be familiar with him, but some people may not. You can Google all of these people if you're curious about who each one of them are, because I'm going to go through each one and just give you a really slight history on each person. So Noble Drew Ali, again, a prolific, profound leader, someone that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He had a movement here in the United States of America again in the early 1900s, and his philosophy was really just to raise the people up from what they found themselves in, because many of as African Americans or Black people or Moorish people, whichever one you want to go by, fine with me. I don't get into those arguments. We are all of those. Anyway, again, bringing people up out of the mud, so to speak. And you have to have leadership qualities to do things like that. So I admire anyone who has the gall and the guts to say, hey, you mighty people, up, get up and clean yourselves off and dust yourselves off and lead a movement. Leadership skills. I'm going to do it despite my circumstances. I mean, there's different things that I get from different people. Again, I'm going to do it despite my circumstances. I don't care what people say. Of course, this is Huey P. Newton. What a lot of people do not know about Huey P. Newton is that he was a scholar. This man was extremely brilliant and smart. Yes, he was a part of the Black Panther Party, and whoever's watching this video may have issues with the Black Panther Party, but a lot of people don't know that they started the program called WIC. We affectionately call it WIC, but it's called Women, Infant, and Children. And they were the original starters of that. They were the original starters of WIC, I think Head Start, and the breakfast program that you now see in schools. And I don't think a lot of people know that. But I look to him for inspiration. He was a brilliant man. He was a thinker. And, leadership qualities. And then we're going to go with my lady down here again, Harriet Tubman. Y'all know the story about Harriet Tubman. She wasn't nobody to play with. And you know what? She escaped slavery, made it to Canada, and went back numerous times, reached back numerous times to help other people escape slavery. And to me, that shows a lot of things. Leadership, that shows leadership qualities, that shows being selfless and helping others. You made it out, but then she could have just stayed in Canada and not went back at all. And not only did she go back once, she went back like 8 times, I think it was. And can you imagine going through swamps and they had a bounty on her head, like all of these things, all of these insurmountable odds, and she was steadfast and strong and forged through anyway. So I like to draw from her spirit and her strength as well. And then we have Marcus Garvey. You guys know who Marcus Garvey is. If you don't, Google Marcus Garvey. Again, another strong leader, fellow Leo like me. I like to shout out the Leos. Fellow Leo, galvanized the movement, really believed in economic upward mobility for people of African descent, African Americans, Black, Moorish, take your pick, and really didn't just talk about it. He was about that life, right? So he's another one. So I got 3 more. No, I got 3 more. Okay, so Biddy Mason, she's another one. She's another modern day. She came a little bit after Harriet Tubman, but she was in slavery out west. Somehow made it to California, went to court, emancipated herself by going to court, and became a real estate mogul in like the late 1800s, the early 1900s. Like, this is amazing. These are amazing, amazing people that I want I want some of their knowledge and what they saw and what they experienced and how they um, were able to overcome odds and have the chutzpah and the guts and the courage to accomplish the things that they accomplish, right? So this just goes to show you, like, there's just no excuse. We have so many examples of people who do things against insurmountable odds. And then we have up here in the corner one of my all-time favorites, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And again, some of these people may be controversial to you all. Their work speaks for themselves. This is another man who rose up and said, up you people, clean yourselves up, dust yourselves off. He had hospitals and schools and planes, and he really understood that we needed every facet of society and we needed to build for ourselves. And he's very famous for saying, do for self. So he's another person that I admire greatly. And yeah, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Of course, Minister Farrakhan came under his leadership. Malcolm X came under his leadership. Those names might be names that you know and recognize. And then over here we have W. Clement Stone. And he's probably the only person up here who is not of African descent. However, he was very instrumental in helping Dennis Kimbrough. And some of you may know who Dennis Kimbrough is because he wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. Well, W. Clement Stone is the gentleman who convinced Dennis Kimbrough to write Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, because Napoleon Hill actually had started a manuscript that was specifically for people of African descent. He really felt like he needed a special message to talk to them, but unfortunately, he died and never got around to the manuscript. And W. Clement Stone convinced Dr. Dennis Kimbrough to pick up the torch. So I have him also as one of my invisible counselors. And yeah, these are my divine nine, if you will. This might be a little spooky to some people, but I don't think it's too spooky. I think that, if you really think about what people that you admire, and some of them may be passed on, you may find that you really kind of may have an invisible counsel somewhere back there in the recesses of your mind. If you really sit down and think about it, it may be your grandmother. You may really remember the wisdom of what your grandmother shared with you, or your grandfather, or your favorite uncle, or so it doesn't have to be necessarily quote unquote famous people or well-known people. It might be your grandma, your auntie, your uncle, your favorite cousin. It could be somebody like that. And let me know in the comment section down below if you have an invisible counselor or invisible counselors. Let me know who you have and tell me what you think about this video. And that's all I have for you right now. I just wanted to come on and let you guys know that I am back on YouTube and I'm back doing videos. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.